What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Jack Ramsays pregame show. Danny Marang, Brandon Sprague, struggling to figure out a gambling app. All I hear is, what? What do you, how does it, what is, and yours came through. Congrats. It's that's how it goes, man. I cowered it out. We'll get to mine. I took the parlay, but I did not go 4. Of course, you champion the 4, and that's what we do here. We champion this podcast, Brandon. So welcome in, everybody. It's an early game against the Oklahoma City Thunder. If you are here, you are a dedicated. Okay, Brandon's muted apparently, and apparently that's my fault because I'm an idiot because I clicked one stupid button. And I screwed it up. You know why? Because I went solo last night and I forgot to adjust the sounds. Everybody's like, hey, Brandon's muted. Hey, Brandon's muted. Hey, Brandon's muted. Hey, Brandon is muted. Guys, I got it. Let's go ahead and start that again. Welcome in, everybody, to the Jack Ramsays pregame show. Danny Marang, Brandon Sprague, actually here now. And I won't throw him under the bus this time. So that works out perfect.
If you missed it, I don't know how to use the gambling app. I'm an idiot. And we're trying to lay a parlay because I gave you guys one on Sunday on the pregame. It hit. And Danny's got one that I find rather tasty. So I will be laying that as well.
Yeah, we'll get to that one real quick. I got everybody hitting me up in my Twitter DMs and my Slack chat, letting me know that Sprague was muted. I'm an idiot. That's how it goes. I have to change the settings when I go solo so we don't get the feedback for those that have here for those shows. When I have the reverb feedback, it's just awful. This is what happens when you have me pushing all the buttons, designing everything, and talking at the same time. It's how it goes. Again, the Portland Trailblazers are taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder on a back-to-back. There's a little bit of breaking news before we get into today's show. Nasir Little is undergoing repair surgery, and this is coincidental, I think. I'm going to pull back the curtain a little bit. Sprague and I were talking about Dr. Andrews, coincidentally enough, like 4 days ago?
It was like a week ago, yeah.
Yeah, and just surgeons that have made like a name out of, taking care of one particular injury. I know, who do you go see and how that all works out. Well, if you ever have a shoulder or a surgery or a shoulder or an arm or something like that, you want to go see Dr. Mark Andrews. And it was right before Nasir got hurt. And I was I wonder if he's going to end up being able to get into him because he's done literally thousands of these things. So Nasir is going to have surgery and he's in the best hands humanly possible.
Yeah, I mean, James Andrews works across all landscapes of sports, baseball, football, tennis, basketball.
Pioneered Tommy John surgery.
Yeah, you are going with the best of the best. And so I think that's an encouraging note. It sucks to still lose Nas, but it's an encouraging note that he's going to be A-okay and he'll get through the rehab process and probably be good as new next year. Yeah,
that's the thing is let's get this done. Let's go ahead and figure it out and kind of get where we need to be for next year. Let's get into this game here real quick, Brandon. We're taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder tonight. What's interesting about this is the Blazers have played 50 whole basketball games and they have not played the Oklahoma City Thunder once.
Yeah, it's going to be a nice little win for them today because Oklahoma City is god-awful. They have a real chance, because I think they're going to lose tonight, real chance to go the month of January with one win.
Oh, strong chance. Strong chance.
Strong chance, yes.
I say all of that knowing full well that Portland could screw around and drop a game. It's a very unlikely scenario. But as when we get to the gambling portion of this show, Vegas isn't exactly blown away by this matchup.
No.
I saw the spread and I went, huh. Does somebody have a report of something that happened in Chicago last night? Was it a late plane ride? Because I haven't heard anything about anything. So, but you are either a basketball sadist or you love young players. If you're tuning in to watch the Oklahoma City Thunder, they are in the middle of a humongous rebuild. They have more draft picks than any team has ever had at any given point right now. I believe it's 21 total first-round picks that they currently have control over. It is nuts. But they do have some fun players. Unfortunately, Brandon, no Shai Gilgeous-Alexander tonight, and most likely not Friday night when the Thunder come to Portland as well. That's right, folks. They don't play the Thunder for 50 games, and they play them 4 times in the final 32. The Thunder account for over 10% of their final games.
It's like the Clippers in reverse. The Clippers, like the first
they were
Clipper
done
games,
in December.
Yeah, over.
It's like, Dimitri asks, is Dort playing? Yes, thank you. That's a perfect segue. That is a perfect segue because tonight the Dorture Chamber is on full display for everybody. Anfernee Simons, who everybody knows, I love. I want to see him do well. And one of my biggest regrets over the last couple weeks is that potential matchups that would really test him have not been present. No Kyle Lowry, no Marcus Smart, no Alex Caruso. These point-of-attack defenders that are first-team All-NBA caliber defenders either in their career or now that can really, really stress you and put you in situations that other defenders can't. Lou Dort is on that short list. Now, will he pick up Anfernee or will he pick up CJ? I tend to believe he'll probably get some time on Anfernee. And I really, really, really want to see how he does because that's one of the strongest, most physical point-of-attack defenders in the entire NBA.
I mean, he's a tank. He's what, 6'5"? He's just
he may be 6'4". Like,
is he 6'4"?
He's just
a muscle. He's one muscle. There's no fat. This dude is an athlete of athletes. I'm with you on the defender thing. I think it'll be interesting to see. I think they start him out on CJ because if you're looking at their roster and look, I'm going to gamble here because I didn't know about 7 of these dudes. Odds are you don't know any of these names, right? Like there's probably 3 or 4 that you go, oh, Terrence Mann's there. That's right. Mike Muscala still in the league. Good to know. But like largely with no SGA, like Lou Dort's going to be looked at to score. And so I don't know if they're going to say, hey, Lou Dort, go give us the most Lou Dort game ever. Lock down Anfernee Simons and please score 25 points. I think you play a slightly easier matchup just in the you want him to pick you up thing. So I'd imagine we see him start with CJ. But, yeah, I'm with you. Working his way over to Ant if they're close. The spread's only 4, 3.5, depending on where you're looking. So Vegas thinks it's going to be relatively close. And if it is, that's when I think the Lou Dort versus Anfernee Simons matchup is going to be interesting.
Yeah, and that's why I'm kind of focusing on it tonight because obviously when those Nasir Little, you're looking to kind of push out towards the future. Nasir against Josh Giddey was something I was actually giddy about. Just good. Just throw the yeet out.
I just hope Terrence really mans up.
I don't want to have one for Darius Bazley. So, but it's going to be, I'm like looking up and down the lineup. It's like, this is, you got Poku. Let me go ahead and check the injury report real quick because I believe there's a couple guys out. Because Poku was questionable. He's good. Poku's good.
Back?
Yeah, Poku's good. Jeremiah Robinson Earl is good, and so is Paul Watson. Out obviously is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So, well, the treat didn't last very long.
There it is. The old friend.
Come here. So mom's out of town. Or not out of town. She's out taking care of stuff. So Dallas gets to come hang out. It's an early pregame. So there you go. You're going to give loves? Okay. Thank you. What are you looking for in this game? Because that Chicago game, it was a lot of the bad stuff, really, that I saw pop up in the third quarter against Houston manifested a lot in Chicago. And I think that second quarter when they got absolutely shellacked was like, I don't care about this game. That was the vibe that I got. And they got it relatively close, but OKC just doesn't have the talent to really force that issue. But I think that's kind of where we end up, at least coming into this.
Well, yeah, I think the opponent matters, right? Like Chicago's been dealing with a S storm for like the last month, but they've been a relatively great story. And, despite all the, hey, they're struggling, hey, this guy's out, they've been okay. Like there's still 12, 13 games above 500. Oklahoma City is not that. Oklahoma City is.
They have 14 wins.
They are trusting the process, and they are trusting it very hard. I love that we fired a dude for this, and then a team does this, but they just don't say it out loud, and it's like, it's okay. We understand.
Yeah.
I want to ask you something. I got a question. I think more so than maybe break down, how Jeremiah Robinson Earl might fit in against this Portland unit. Because you and I think are simpatico here. We think that Portland's going to win this game, right?
Yeah.
Let me ask you a generalized question involving Oklahoma City tied to Portland. So Portland's in a real interesting spot. We are in on Nurk, and then we're out on Nurk, and then we're in on Nurk, and then he gets his ass kicked, right? We'll run it back. We can do this again. It's a very passionate fan base. If you find yourself in a situation similar to OKC, how many years would Portland fan be okay with running the OKC model? Because here, Thunder fans in on this. They know, they see it, the assets, SGA, like Lou Dort. But they're largely, even with those two guys, are going to suck unless they pull off a major trade of some sort and or draft somebody that wants to stay and live in Oklahoma City. And I've been there 3 times. You don't want to live and stay in Oklahoma City.
No, you don't.
So I'm just curious, how many years do you think Blazer fan goes from, yes, let's do this, to I hate this, I want out, and I hate this franchise?
I think there's a couple things that matter here. When you look at the Thunder, they have had multiple different iterations. They had the young Thunders when you had KD, Harden, Westbrook, and Ibaka. Then you had the KD, Westbrook Thunder with Ibaka there. They obviously chose him, and Harden goes out, which made the NBA Finals. Then you've got the next iteration of Russ and PG. Then you've got the Chris Paul Thunder. This is a franchise that, while they have fallen short, they have had multiple top 10 players, multiple deep runs, like of consequence. And you know how they got there every single time? The draft.
Well, they also stole a franchise that drafted 2 of those dudes.
Sure, but
yes,
again,
but to your point, yes.
And then they traded assets to get guys. That's how they got Oladipo and Sabonis in the first place, that they flipped for Paul George. So I think that it is baked into that organization that the draft is what matters, because they don't sign free agents. They can trade and they can draft, and they trust Sam Presti wholly, unequivocally. And I think that's the situation where that bears out. They're okay for 4 or 5 years because they've been close to that promised land. They've tasted real success. And Portland, they've never let the bottom fall out but once, and it fell out not because they needed to. It fell out because they made poor choices, and then they made worse choices on top of it. And so you had kind of bad culture, bad character guys on the back end of that, and that in itself was kind of tanking. Like getting the picks that became the number 2 overall pick in LaMarcus Aldridge, getting a pick that becomes Brandon Roy, lucking into lottery odds the next year with Greg Oden, came not as a part of an active tank, but as a dark moment in the franchise's history. And so when you look at that, I think the ethos, so to speak, of the team is like, 45 wins in the playoffs. Like that's what I think you think of when you think of the Portland Trailblazers really in the last 30 years, right?
Largely.
They're a good team. Good, well-run franchise that they're going to be there. They're not going to bottom out. And so I don't think that that's baked in necessarily to this franchise. And realistically, I think 2 years, you're probably pushing it, which is why I've advocated so many times for like a soft tank like this year or in 2016. Though, I don't think the fan base here would be like, nah, I'm not cool with that.
But it feels like every single game, because I think they very well could win today, Portland. you keep playing this weight game, and I get it. I don't want to. I sound impatient, and I probably am to a certain extent. Like the deadline is 10 days away. It's basically February 1st. I don't know. Like you don't make any moves. I mean, every single day you don't make a move is another game you potentially win that you probably should be trying to not win. If that's the direction we're going here, if Nurk's getting traded, CJ's going to be traded, Norm's getting traded, Cub's getting traded. Like if you're going to make those kinds of moves, and we still don't know if they will, but if you're going to, you do need to be looking at expediting this thing, because today you are going to lose a game. If you're playing the ping pong battle, and I know you're already ahead of Oklahoma City in wins.
Yeah, you're not catching those bottom four.
But I think you need to be trying your damnedest to. Like you can't catch them, but you should be trying to catch them. And I think every day that passes with the trade deadline looming is another day where you're kind of delaying what this tank could be and what it could mean for their season. Sadly, it's gotten to that, but like that's the reality of their situation. Whereas like Oklahoma City, Oklahoma City is interesting to me because you're so right. They've had so many different iterations of this franchise, but like
in the same time period that the Blazers have been in. Just think of Damian Lillard, his time in Portland, what OKC has been through in the same time period.
But I've come to two conclusions. Like one, I'm really done with this whole like bowing at Presti for having 45 draft picks. Like do something with it. Like I'm tired of counting how many picks you have, and another year goes by where you're the second or third worst team in the NBA. The second part I can't help but go to is Cleveland. Cleveland this year, it was a real wake-up call because we knew that they might be better than what they were. Mobley was going to be a beast. You and I loved him, saw him firsthand in the Pac-12. He played for your Trojans. What they've become so quickly after losing LeBron James, I'm almost wondering, like, is Oklahoma City as bad as they are today as we talk? Am I going to look up in 2 or 3 years and see the Thunder do the same thing to Portland that Cleveland did?
Yes, that's exactly what you're going to see.
And I just, what are we doing then? Because like if you're not making the progress to be at the top, and I know like Utah is my example, and now they're dealing with some. They just lost Ingles, and Gobert's been banged up, and Donovan rumors are hot right now. I still maintain like what they were, what they can be, is what you're aiming to be. And they just haven't done that. They've gone completely in the middle of purgatory in the NBA, and they've watched teams lose generational players, reboot it, suck, and then quickly find their ways back past Portland, whereas Portland has not made any closer ground to the very top of this thing. So when we play teams like this, to me, it's not as much the game. Like this game's going to suck. This team sucks to watch, Oklahoma City. I think about these,
especially without SGA. It's a hard watch.
Yes.
I'm right there with you in the sense of like make it make sense, kind of situation. Again, from what I have been told is that the Blazers have not made an organizational decision to chase a tank nor to chase a play-in. Which
I mean, that
for
is...
me, that's cowardice is the word that kind of comes to mind. Maybe
that's
holding
a nicer
your cards.
Word than I would have used.
I'm just saying, maybe holding your cards a little too close to the vest. But at the same time, Joe Cronin, according to Yusuf Nurkic, told him when he took charge that they were going to continue to build around Dame, CJ, and Nurk. I don't think anybody really believes that.
No.
I mean, there's so much smoke coming from New Orleans right now, you can see it over the horizon.
Jeez Louise. There's an article every day, Danny, about how CJ would really fix what this offense is looking for. It's like every day there's a new NOLA.com article. Mm-hmm. I mean, how many, by the way, shout out NOLA. They're hiring all the writers, I guess, because I feel like there's been 10 different articles from 10 different people.
Yeah, there's been a lot of smoke. So I don't believe that's going to be the case. But, and again, this isn't to say that we know better than anybody else, but for all of the, well, what does tanking ever do? Look at the 76ers. I'm like, yeah, look at the 76ers. They got multiple generational players.
They have the league MVP on the roster. I mean, that'd be nice to have.
Now, do you have to get some things right and not Sacramento it up? Yeah, you do. But you know what the Portland Trailblazers have done at the top of the lottery with their picks? Pretty damn good. Pretty damn good.
I also think people would push back on that in general.
Well, I know the whole like Sam Bowie, Greg Oden thing. It's like, guys, look at every organization and what they have done with picks. Nobody was taking anybody but Greg Oden in that draft. Nobody.
Nobody. Was, yeah.
Greg Oden was unanimous.
The Sonics straight up said, if it was our pick, we would have taken Oden.
And that's why the whole like, oh, it's this, that, it's.
Well, and then you got like Thompson and Bird. Like, it's easy to do revisionist history with some of this stuff.
But also, Michael Thompson was an absolute monster coming in.
He was a really good player. Yeah.
So it's like, but again, they're not kingsing these picks. They're not swinging and missing so bad that it destroys a franchise.
Shit, how many did the Sixers get wrong, right? Even in getting Embiid, and then I know Simmons isn't playing, so he is what he is, but like one of those picks was used on Jahlil Okafor. Is Jahlil Okafor in the NBA anymore? Like,
yeah, no, he's in the back.
I saw he was a scrub somewhere, but like I didn't know what team he was on. Like, they've also had some bad picks. You're going to miss on this stuff. I'm not even telling you use the pick. I'm just like, I'm thinking like ahead here, where there's a report from an NBA writer. His name's drawn blank. Eric
Pincus.
Pincus.
Yeah.
Saying that Portland, there's circles around the NBA of execs and different teams. Basically, they think Dame and the Portland are going to get the $100 million extension. If that's the direction you're going, and I'm going to trust the sourcing on that, you know what? Cool. I'm all in. I said I wanted to build around Dame, but like that requires doing a little bit of ugly and doing what's necessary to make that rebuild with Dame.
You're not going to have another opportunity like this. Yeah,
this is your last shot. You got 2 or 3 years, I'd imagine, and then Dame's going to be at an age where he's like, oh shit, I'm 33, I'm 34. Like do I want to keep doing this? Maybe he does. Maybe he wants to be
Dame can continue to shoot, but he's not Chris Paul.
No.
He's not that kind of playmaker. I think it's going to age quite as well. His shooting is a skill that sticks around for a long time.
Right.
But I think there's even a limit to that. Let's get into the gambling portion of today's show. The jacked up line of the night brought to you by nobody yet because we're scumbags and we haven't found a sponsor who's willing to take us on. That's not true. I say that jokingly.
Well, we are scumbags.
I was going to say we are scumbags, but the sponsorship stuff we're working on right now. So, jacked up line of the night, Blazers by 4. I know it's a back-to-back, Brandon, but it's the Thunder.
Mm-hmm.
Straight up, they are only a -170.
Yeah.
Also, the over-under night, 215.5, and the straight line on Anfernee Simons continues to be 18.5 points.
I think you can get it right now with the end game parlay at 17.5.
You can.
Yeah.
As you so astutely point out, I, in true scumbag fashion,
yes,
followed you up on the same game parlay from Chicago, and
yes.
I took the over 17.5 on Anfernee Simons, Portland to cover the alternative spread of 3.5, and the over of 215.5.
Ooh, I like that. So here's my only pushback: the over is
the dicey part. That's what juices the odds, to be honest.
Well, because I'm gonna admit, I'm gonna be one of those guys. Like I think I've seen Oklahoma City in a game 3 or 4 times, and that's because I'm watching somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
SGA is great, but like it's hard for me to watch a team this shitty. Their last game, they played an overtime game against the Pacers, who have Sabas back, and they only got to 223. So like it kind of makes me nervous. Like, are they going to be able to score that many points to get over 215? I don't know.
Again, that's what juiced the odds. Because I think the other two are pretty much guarantees.
Yeah, I do too.
17.5 for Ant and 3.5 for Portland to cover. I think that's about as straight up money as you can get. I could have taken the under and been a coward, but I'm not a coward because I have said anytime that line gets under 220, it's pretty much a fair go. Eric says Vegas is giving away money. Yeah, no, they continue to do that for a lot of things as it pertains to the Portland Trailblazers. I think that's kind of an out of sight, out of mind, and no one's really betting on them. So I've had a few people who make their living doing this and say, hey, thanks for calling that out on Twitter because I rode that for a while. And yeah. It's going to go.
The over's been nice for us.
It has been nice. You know, also been nice for us is the watch parties brought to you by Playback. You like that?
Oh, there you go.
Professional radio transition. If you want to be a member of the Jack Ramsays Army, go ahead and click on the community button and join. You can be a part of the Jack Ramsays Army. You can take part in all of the watch parties. We will be doing watch parties from here till the end of the season. All the games. We have you covered. Even the games that I'm not going to be there after my surgery. We'll have either Brandon or somebody else in there kind of hosting. But that is the big perk that comes along with it, along with some special one-offs, some kind of AMA type situations with Brandon and I. We'll do some members only kind of podcast viewing, as well as early viewing on all of the recorded content. So I've got an interview that I'm doing with Anfernee Simons here later this week. Once I get that done and lay that over the video, you guys will have early access to that. So that's only the little things that come along with that. And we're going to put some more in there, as well as some giveaways and some tickets and some other stuff too. So we'll get out of here on that. Like, rate, review, subscribe. Help us grow the show. Subscribe if you're watching here on YouTube. Subscribe. Share us with your friends. Do whatever you do that put us in the group chat. Make fun of us. I don't care. Just put us out there. That's what we want. We will catch you guys in the watch party or the post-game show. You can catch us on social media at Jack Ramsays, at Danny Marang, at Brandon Sprague. You can email the show, jackramsays@gmail.com. Until then, take care. Talk